Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel.
Tonight, we're diving into one of the most dramatic developments in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia, the stunning nighttime operation in which Ukraine broke Russia's so-called
Crimea Corridor. This daring strike has sent shockwaves through military circles and reshaped the strategic landscape of the war. It wasn't just another raid or missile strike. It was a calculated, high-risk, high-reward operation designed to hit the very heart of Russia's logistical backbone in occupied Crimea. For years, Russia has used the Crimea land bridge and connected routes through southern Ukraine as a lifeline to supply its occupying forces on the peninsula. This network of roads, railways, bridges, and military outposts is what analysts have long called the Crimea Corridor. It allowed Russia to move troops, ammunition, and fuel seamlessly between mainland Russia and Crimea, ensuring control over the peninsula while projecting strength across the Black Sea region. But Ukraine's latest operation has dealt a major blow to that chain, proving that even Moscow's most fortified routes are not untouchable. The operation took place under the cover of night, when Russian surveillance and air defenses are at their weakest. Ukrainian special forces, supported by drones and precision-guided strikes, coordinated a complex series of attacks that targeted key infrastructure and radar systems. The focus wasn't just on the visible routes, but on the invisible systems that protect them, the radar networks, air defense control points, and communication hubs that make up Russia's defensive grid in Crimea. By blinding those systems first, Ukraine created the perfect window to strike the supply corridor directly. Reports suggest that Ukrainian intelligence pinpointed several high-altitude targets across Crimea, including radar installations of Russia's S-400 air defense systems, logistical command centers, and energy supply units that power these facilities. By disabling these systems, Ukrainian forces effectively opened a hole in the Russian defense network, allowing follow-up strikes to penetrate deeper than ever before. The precision and timing of these attacks were crucial. Everything happened almost simultaneously, overwhelming Russian defenses and leaving command units struggling to respond in time. Perhaps the most symbolic and strategically important target was the Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge. This structure is Russia's physical and psychological link between its mainland and Crimea. It's not just an engineering marvel, it's a symbol of Moscow's claim over the peninsula. In this nighttime operation, Ukraine reportedly used underwater explosives and drone strikes to damage several of the bridge's support pillars, disrupting both railway and vehicular traffic. The explosion sent shockwaves through the structure and through the Kremlin's confidence in its own security measures. The message was clear: nothing in occupied Crimea is safe anymore. The destruction and disruption of this corridor mean Russia can no longer rely on a single, secure route to move military supplies. Fuel convoys, ammunition trains, and troop reinforcements now face constant danger from Ukrainian strikes. Every attempt to rebuild or repair is met with new attacks, creating a cycle that drains resources and morale. This psychological effect on Russian soldiers stationed in Crimea is immense. Knowing that their supply lines are vulnerable changes the entire mindset of an occupying force. For the first time in years, Russian troops in Crimea are realizing that the peninsula is no longer a safe rear base. It's now a frontline target. On the Ukrainian side, this operation demonstrates a significant evolution in their military capabilities. It shows not just courage but strategic maturity. Ukraine has learned to combine intelligence, technology, and timing to maximum effect. The use of drones, both for reconnaissance and attack, played a massive role in the success of this operation. By sending waves of drones to confuse Russian air defenses, Ukraine created a smokescreen that allowed precision weapons to hit their targets with devastating accuracy. This combination of innovation and bravery is what continues to give Ukraine an edge despite being outgunned. The implications for Russia are severe. The loss of the corridor means longer, more complicated, and more dangerous supply routes. It forces Moscow to divert resources from offensive operations to defensive repairs and protection. It exposes the vulnerability of its once secure positions, and most importantly, it shatters the illusion of control over Crimea. Even with vast resources, Russia now faces the logistical nightmare of sustaining an occupation under constant threat. The cost of holding Crimea just went up significantly. This operation also has far-reaching symbolic power. The Kremlin has long portrayed Crimea as untouchable, the jewel of its expansion, fully integrated into the Russian state. By striking deep into the peninsula, Ukraine has undermined that narrative. It's a psychological victory that boosts Ukrainian morale and proves to its allies that their support is making a difference. It tells the world that Ukraine is not just resisting, it's capable of hitting back where it hurts the most. From a military standpoint, breaking the corridor is not the same as completely cutting off Crimea, not yet, but it disrupts the flow, complicates logistics, and opens opportunities for future operations. Ukraine doesn't need to physically occupy every inch of land to win this phase of the war. It needs to make Russia's occupation unsustainable. Each attack on infrastructure, each drone strike on supply convoys, each sabotage mission inside Crimea chips away at Moscow's ability to maintain control. Over time, that pressure could force Russia into difficult decisions. The success of this nighttime operation also highlights the growing role of intelligence cooperation between Ukraine and its Western allies. Real-time satellite data, surveillance feeds, and advanced analytics likely played a role in identifying weak points in the corridor. Such coordination shows how the war has evolved into a blend of traditional combat and high-tech warfare. The lines between cyber operations, drone strikes, and field missions are increasingly blurred, creating a multidimensional battlefield that Russia is struggling to adapt to. Of course, Russia is unlikely to accept this setback quietly. Already, reports suggest Moscow is rushing to repair damaged infrastructure, reinforce air defenses, and relocate critical assets deeper into the peninsula. But these reactive measures come at a cost. Every missile used for defense is one less available for offense. Every ruble spent repairing bridges is one not spent supporting front-line troops. Ukraine's operation has forced Russia into a defensive posture, and that shift in momentum is strategically invaluable. Looking ahead, the breaking of the Crimea Corridor could mark a turning point in the war. With the corridor weakened, Ukraine can intensify pressure on Russian forces in southern Ukraine, particularly around Melitopol and Tokmak, key hubs that connect Crimea to the mainland. If Ukraine can continue to disrupt these routes, it could eventually isolate Crimea completely, making the Russian presence there untenable. That would not only be a military victory, but also a massive political and symbolic one, proving that Ukraine can reclaim its territory step by step. This operation also sends a clear signal to the international community. Ukraine's military, once seen as purely defensive, has evolved into a force capable of executing complex, multi-layered operations with precision. It's a message to its allies that continued support yields tangible results. Advanced drones, long, range missiles, and intelligence sharing are proving decisive. It's also a message to Moscow that time is no longer on its side. The longer the war drags on, the more vulnerable Russia's positions become. The broader geopolitical implications are also significant. The Black Sea region, once dominated by Russia, is becoming increasingly contested. Ukrainian strikes have already pushed the Russian Navy to withdraw several vessels from Sevastopol, and the corridor attack adds another layer of insecurity. If Ukraine can sustain these kinds of operations, it could eventually neutralize Russia's strategic advantage in the Black Sea, reshaping the balance of power in Eastern Europe. There's also the question of morale. For Ukrainians, seeing their forces strike deep into occupied territory reignites hope. It reminds them that liberation is possible and that every act of defiance brings the country closer to victory. For Russian soldiers, it's the opposite. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt begin to creep in when supply lines are no longer secure, when air defenses fail to protect, and when even Crimea is vulnerable. Confidence erodes quickly. Wars are not only fought with weapons, but with willpower, and Ukraine's operation has just delivered a massive psychological blow to its enemy. The timing of the operation is no coincidence either. As winter approaches, supply lines become even more crucial. By striking now, Ukraine ensures that Russia's logistical problems are magnified during the most difficult season. Fuel shortages, disrupted repairs, and delayed reinforcements could have cascading effects across the front lines. In warfare, timing is everything, and Ukraine's leadership clearly understands that. It's worth noting that while the operation was daring and successful, it also came with risks. Nighttime missions of this scale require precision, coordination, and secrecy. Any misstep could have exposed Ukrainian units to counterattack or compromised future operations. The fact that Ukraine executed it successfully speaks volumes about the professionalism and skill of its military. It also suggests that this may not be a one-time event, but part of a broader strategy to continually erode Russia's control over Crimea. In the coming weeks, we can expect more developments, more strikes on radar systems, more sabotage missions, and perhaps even further damage to critical bridges and routes. Ukraine has found an effective formula: target logistics, disrupt defenses, and make occupation costly. Russia will respond, but every reaction spreads its resources thinner. Every repair makes it more desperate to hold on. This slow, relentless strategy of pressure could prove more effective than any single large offensive. As we reflect on this operation, one thing is clear. Ukraine's fight is not only about reclaiming land, but redefining what's possible. Against all odds, a nation smaller in size and resources is rewriting the playbook of modern warfare. By breaking the Crimea Corridor, Ukraine has shown that creativity, intelligence, and courage can challenge even the mightiest military powers. Thank you for watching and staying with us through this in-depth look at Ukraine's remarkable nighttime operation. If you enjoyed this analysis and want to stay updated on how this story unfolds, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this operation could mark the beginning of Crimea's liberation? Until next time, stay informed and stay safe.